Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk, a new kind of podcast where no topic is off limits. We're bringing in experts and owners to have the conversations we should be having as a dog community. Each week, a new guest will share firsthand experiences, educational resources, or professional guidance to help you learn and grow along with your dog. You won't get one perspective here, you'll get them all, because every dog is different and every owner is too.
You can follow along on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Straight Up Dog Talk, or by visiting www.straightupdogtalk.com. Tune in from any of your favorite podcast platforms.
This episode is sponsored by our good friends from Fat Sam's for Pets. Help your pets live their best lives, happy and calm and pain-free with help from fatsamsforpets.com. Need an easy way to dose by weight for a starting point? Try their infused peanut butter, pumpkin peanut butter dog treats, or their super clean, full-spectrum oil for pets. Use code SUDT at fatsamsforpets.com to save 10% on your purchase today. Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk. I'm Em, and we're back again with Josh.
Hello.
And tonight we have a small business by the name of Fat Sam's with us. And the owner, Cheryl, is here with us tonight. How are you doing, Cheryl?
I'm doing great, thank you.
We're super excited to have you here. You have some really fun products, and you have kind of an interesting story about how you got to these products. So let's start with just an introduction about you and about Fat Sam's and all the things.
Sure, thank you. My name is Cheryl Cryer, and I own Fat Sam's for Pets and another wellness business called Crybaby Wellness. And this is my 7th year in natural wellness. And Fat Sam's for Pets kind of came along a little bit after I launched my CBD company called Crybaby Wellness. My dogs were both seniors at the time, and when I would make products and formulate things, they would be, right there. So when I started to explore making products, I thought about what and how it could benefit my pets, which Cody was having some signs of hip dysplasia, and Sam, some signs of just general winding down, achy, difficulty getting up and down. So I started to learn everything I could about infusing for pets and reading everything I could on dosing strategies, why you would give that to a dog or cat or pet. And pretty soon, Fat Sam's for Pets was born. We bake our dog treats in a commercial kitchen every week. We bake about 2,400. And our customers include people buying them online. So we ship nationwide to all states. People buying them in shops like pet boutiques and butcher shops. I'm not in a whole lot, but I'm in a few. Or at pop-up markets and doggy events and things like that. So it's a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
And where are you located out of?
We are located in Batavia, Illinois, and that is about an hour west of Chicago, nestled in between Aurora and Elgin, which are big towns. It's a river town.
Okay. And you have an actual storefront, correct?
Yes, I have a beautiful storefront in the historic area in downtown Batavia, and it's very walkable here. We're right on the river, lots of walking paths, coffee shops, a little cute consignment shop around the corner, and boutique breweries. There's a brewery across the street. Anyway, I love it here, and I live here too in Batavia with my husband. So it's great. The town is so supportive of us here, and they do an awful lot to support small businesses. It's just part of the town. Very nice.
I love that. We have a very good community for small businesses in our hometown as well. And it's really important to me to support small businesses, especially in this dog community, which is why we're having you on here, because I want people to have safe and family and pet-friendly resources to go to. So let's start with how you kind of jumped into this journey? Because
Sure.
it's kind of a fun story. So go ahead,
Sure.
tell it.
Sure, I'll tell you. So I had a career before this. I worked 25 years in a corporate job as a global marketing director, and worked for pretty big companies running strategy. So we had teams in every major city around the world and executing these gigantic marketing plans for financial technology companies. And I made great money, but it wasn't fulfilling. And at the same time, realizing this, I suffered a couple of health problems, which led me to multiple medications, and some medications were like interacting with the other ones, and it was really troublesome. So I had to go on medical leave from my job and get better. And it just seemed like the more pills they prescribed, the more problems I had. Maybe two would interact, which would cause something else. I wasn't sleeping at all. And so my son was like, Mom, why don't you try CBD for sleep? And I'm like, I don't know about that, life. I see you smoking pot over there, not really for me, but, I didn't know. I guess that was just my stigma talking, So
It's everyone's stigma.
it's everyone's stigma. Don't I know it? Man, when we first started popping up at farmers markets, we would have like moms and children, the mom would like move her family away from my booth. And I would be like, I'm not a monster. Now it's a lot different. But I still get stigma in here, especially my elderly customers, because they can't help it. They grew up with this, and I did too. So anyway, it's all the time. But so I had it, and but I was willing to try anything because I started to get so many side effects from the meds I was on and not really getting relief. So I found a reputable brand after buying a couple brands that weren't right. They weren't what they advertised or whatever. Anyway, excuse me. I found a good brand. And the first dose I took before bed, I slept the whole night. Which if you suffer from insomnia, you know what a beautiful gift that it is. One full night of sleep. Holy mother of pearl. It's so good. It is so good. So anyway, I was really just shocked, and I'm not one, I really try to take an education first approach. I'm not one to ram this down anyone's throat or oversell it. I want people to go and do their own research, and I can guide them or they can find it themselves, but so anyway, I got the best sleep I'd had in a long time. And over time, having a good night's sleep led to many other benefits, like I could make better choices for myself the next day, maybe interacting with my adult children who were struggling with things, or my husband who was trying to support me, but not really knowing how. And so, I was less reactive to that. I was making better choices with my meals, with saying no to, healthy boundaries. And, but it wasn't just poof, you take CBD, get a great night's sleep, and your whole life is better. I had to make a conscious decision every day, choosing holistic wellness and natural wellness over pharmaceuticals with the help of my doctor. So, that was, maybe a year and a half or 2 years of tapering down. And I had a doctor for every situation. I had a neurologist and a GI doc and a mental health, and and surprisingly, everyone was supportive except the psychiatrist. And so I fired them, and my doctor agreed to taper off my antidepressants and flag if there was a problem, that an agreement would be I would go back to maybe not them, but a different one. So, so that's it. And so, I do use CBD now as part of a whole lot of other things that I do to keep myself healthy. It includes moving my body and having a clean diet and other things, just holistic.
So I'm going to drop this in here because we haven't talked about this yet on any of the episodes, but something that the listeners should know is that I am legally disabled. I had a brain surgery in 2009 and had the back of my skull removed, and 2 of the rungs, C1 and C2, were shaved off in my spinal cord. And, it took a lot away from me. And they tell you, oh, it's going to be a 3-year recovery, but they don't tell you that that's physically. They don't talk about the mental and the emotional stuff that you have to go through, and the body aches and the not sleeping and the anxiety and the PTSD from the surgery. And, all of those things are very real. And there's such a bad stigma on that as well about don't talk about it. And people don't want to hear that. People don't want to listen to, you say that you're struggling or any of that kind of stuff. So I think it's amazing that not only did you find a way to positively deal with your health situation and advocate for yourself, like you made it a business to help other people and dogs, which is incredible. So
thank you, Emily.
I really applaud you for that. CBD is something that I use because when you don't have part of your neck structure, your upper body is very tight all of the time, and it does help relax and it does help you sleep. And I have seen the benefits for it in my own dogs, especially when boom, boom, fireworks, it's 4th of July, you're all over again, right?
Yeah.
I really think that, advocating for yourself, advocating for your mental health, and then, advocating for pets on top of that, gold star, Cheryl.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, and then I'm not going to be able to talk anymore. I cry so easily. Having the last name Crier, it's programmed. The boys would chase me in 1st grade, cry baby. They would chase me and then I would cry. So anyway, thank you. That's very nice. And it is the best part about my job. I had a 75-year-old woman come in on Sunday that has been on Norcos for 25 years. And her daughter brought her in and was like, tell her, Mom, tell her. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And anyway, the doctor cut her off her Norcos and now she's buying them on the black market. 75.
Oh, no. Well, Iowa did that a few years ago. I want to say it was about 5 years ago. Iowa eliminated the narcos or opioids or whatever. And they were just like, you're done. So it's been several years since I've had access to pain medication. And like I said, CBD, man, it's the way to go.
Yeah.
It works for my anxiety too. So, it really does have multiple purposes. And for people to just be figuring out that, it's something that's good for humans and good for pets, it seems like we're a little bit far behind sometimes. But I mean, people like you who kind of pioneer us through these things are what we really need. So I think it's incredible that you have, people especially in the older generations that are even opening up to this.
Yeah. Well, we get them started with the topical, and then they're like, oh, maybe. But anyway, pets have the same types of issues that we have as far as sleep. We call that anxiety, but, stress and pain. And the neat thing about this plant is it can benefit any animal with a spine, has this system in their body called the endocannabinoid system. And this system was discovered in the 90s, in the 1991, I think, by University of Israel. And prior to that, nobody really studied it. It was kind of locked down and taboo. And, so for them to discover this system in your body, it's in your pet's bodies. Any animal with a spine has an endocannabinoid system. And this system can absorb the medicinal benefits of the hemp plant, the cannabis plant, and use it for those types of ailments, sleep, stress, pain. And then we see autoimmune, chronic, stuff like that, seizures. But so this endocannabinoid system may be the greatest discovery on the human body or the animal body in 100 years. And I read that and I was like, really? Wow. Why aren't we talking about that more? It's just as important as, all the other systems in your body to regulate your all of your hormone systems and everything, mood, sleep, all of that. And cannabis isn't the only plant that has cannabinoids. So it's all of your superfoods. So the echinaceas and the kava kava, black pepper, they have cannabinoids too. And so this is all very important to help keep you in balance. Anyway, I hope that anyone hearing this will go and Google that endocannabinoid system, because it is amazing. You can go down a rabbit hole.
I mean, we're all about education here. So yes, absolutely. But I'm totally on point with you as do your research and come up with your questions and then come back.
Yep.
Send me a message, send Cheryl a message, connect with us on Instagram or via email, and let's talk about these things. And if you want to hear more about this, let us know, because we can have a whole episode about this. That's not an issue.
So the other thing I offer people, if I can just say one more thing about this, is if they're like, is this a good product? They can snap a picture. I tell people this all the time. Send it to us. If we can help you decipher, my responsibility first is education. And it's anybody in this industry because of stigma and because of everything else. So if I can help educate first, that's really my priority. So there's just so many nuances with CBD too. Is it an isolate? Is it a full spectrum? How much THC is in there? What other additives are in there? Are there any preservatives? Do we really need a preservative in a CBD drop? All of these different things. So that's really what I try to do.
I think it's great because we, again, don't have a whole lot of people who are willing to just come up here and talk about these things and educate people on this stuff. And people are like, oh yeah, I'm giving my dog CBD, but do they really know why they're giving their dog CBD? And that's kind of, what I'm trying to hit on here tonight. So we know that you named your original business because of your last name. But let's talk about why you named Fat Sam's Fat Sam.
Okay, so Fat Sam was my dog, and he was a Hurricane Katrina rescue, and he was a border collie. And when the hurricane had happened, and I knew my vet, had always was doing lots of help rescues and worked with a lot of charities nearby, and we had to stop there to pick up something. So I was like, Dr. Cressy, what are you doing with the hurricane dogs? And he's like, oh, you got to go out back, So I go out back, and there's just chain link, after chain link of little pens, and there's like 2 dogs in each one. I think they brought up like 12 or 14 dogs. And there was Fat Sam. He was like minnieing up at me. And he was just the cutest with this little freckled nose. And I just said, I don't care. We just have to take him, so we were his foster family. And I remember bringing him we only made it to one adoption event, and people were coming up and like writing his name down because they wanted to adopt him. And I'm like crying behind my sunglasses, like, no, don't do it. Just kind of trying to keep my face together. And so by like halfway of that event, we're just like, I'm sorry, we're just going to need to adopt him. So we did, foster failure. And, he was just the best dog ever. Just the best. Everybody loved him, and we brought him to football games and all the kids stuff. And, I had another dog, Cody, too. And, they were just a few years apart. So when we brought Sam home, he had just had heartworm treatment. And so we had to keep him calm. And Cody was maybe 9 months old. So it was really difficult to keep him calm. But we kept him in a crate like you're supposed to do for a couple weeks. And he recovered. I don't think he ever fully recovered from the heartworm treatment. And he gained a lot of weight and had skin issues and things like that. But he didn't mind, and neither did we. We loved him. He was just such a good dog. He would, when we first came back, probably maybe the first 6 months to a year, he would jump when the furnace kicked on. If the neighbor had anything strange in their yard, oh, no, he was just going to not have that. But other than that, he didn't have not one aggressive bone in his body. And the kids could just lay on him and pull him, and he just loved it. I think that's why he lived so long. He died when he was 19, and for a medium-sized dog, it's pretty old. I just think he just loved us. We didn't do a whole lot. I didn't have a whole lot of money when my kids were little and my Sam was like new to the house and all that, and my other dog. We just fed him regular dog food. It wasn't like we had a bunch of money, or I didn't know any better probably back then too, but we did regular vet care, but there may have been times we had to miss, when we were younger. And anyway, I guess my point here is that he lived a long ass time, and I think it was the love. I just think it was the love that did it. He loved the kids, and he just loved life. I had an electronic yard fence. I know there's a lot of controversy. We had it back then. It's whatever. We had it. You can hate me if you want. But he would work the collar. It wouldn't shock him. He would work it for it to beep, and he would beep, beep, beep until the battery would go on his collar, and then he would go, and we'd find him down the street playing with the kids down at the park. And we'd be like, "Come on, Sam, come back home." That's a border collie right there on you. He's like that old man that would just do whatever he wanted. He wouldn't be mean about it, but he just would do whatever he wanted, which was usually go find the kids. Yeah, just a great dog. And so, both of the businesses are an expression of me and my family and my life. And it came out of a dark time that just blossomed into something I could ever imagine in my life. So, the topical pain reliever I make was formulated for a reason to help myself, all the way down. And likewise with the pet care, when I first started baking the treats and everything, both dogs would lay on the floor and just wait. And the treats, I'd pop them out of the mold, and then we'd have this mound of like scraps, and they would eat them and love them. And they were seniors. So, I mean, you really can't OD a dog on CBD. They just sleep it off. Not that you want to give them too much, but I mean, I wasn't measuring it. They were getting the scraps from the dog treats I was baking and experimenting with, but they would lay down. And with senior dogs too, isn't that what you want them to do? Just go lay down. They would pant and pace and everything. And usually the next day or the next couple of days later, they would have this like flight into health, and then you got to be careful too, because Cody at this point is deaf and blind, but he's suddenly feeling like he can do zoomies around the yard and running into things, and Sam is like knitting to beat the band and all of this stuff. And so then, and I tell people this too, to be careful, because you don't want them. It's just like me. I'm in my 50s and I think I can do something that I can't, and then you go do it. And then you're like, oh my God, hurt my back. So we try to protect them from that. They were just great. They were the best dogs. And they both passed away in 2019. And I was away when Sam died. I was in Vegas doing a convention out there working. And, we had said goodbye to Sam for 3 years. I mean, we thought he was going to go, and then he would take a turn, and then Dr. Cressy would give him this little blue pill, and he would just suddenly get better, and then he would take a dip down again. But I didn't think he was going to go, but I was happy that I had said goodbye to him a number of times already. And so my husband, they say, when it's time, but I probably could have made that decision three years prior, and then he got better. So then, I mean, that's a whole podcast episode. How do you know when you know? How do you know? Until we really knew. And then, we're calling an emergency vet at midnight to help him, transition. So
I've only had one out of my 3 dogs. Well, one's still alive. I've had 2 pass, but Oliver was an old man dog forever anyway. And he died at 13. He was a small Yorkie, but I mean, he just got up with my wife, everything normal, no signs that he was slowing down. And just when she went to work, he went into his kennel, laid down, and just went. Like, and I can only hope that every pet like that, is how they go.
I think so too. I'd like to pass like that too, to be honest. Just go lay down and go when it's time.
No pain, no suffering.
No.
I'm going to bump it back just a couple of topics here, just because I want to throw in a couple of things. For the electric fence, yes, there's going to be some mixed reviews on how people feel about that. But they are tools, and I think used in the right situations, in the right neighborhoods, in the right places, if your neighbors are aware, if the dog is properly trained to use it, they are effective tools. Tools can always be used to make your life better as long as you're using them properly and your dog's not outsmarting you by wearing out the bed.
So deep sometimes. You just be like, Sam, are you kidding me now?
The second thing I want to say is dark times to good times. I have also been through that, as I mentioned, with the surgery. I also went through a divorce. I moved back to Iowa. There was some rough stuff and some major healing that happened. And you know what came out of that? This podcast.
I love it.
That came out of that. So I think that it makes you stronger and it makes you more passionate about what you're doing. And that's what gives us the drive to be out there educating people and helping them live better lives for themselves and for their dogs, because we have experienced the dark, and we don't want other people to have to do that. So I love that you and I have that connection.
Me too.
And I think that it'll be really great going forward for us to have each other to lean on in those kinds of things. And then the last thing is the knowing when to let go. Now, by this point, you guys have probably all listened to Ness's episode about her letting go of her dog's Rex. And I don't think we'll have had the grief counselor on just quite yet. But these are topics that are, they're relevant. They're going to be reoccurring. They're going to be something that people are going to probably come and ask about. And I want you guys, listeners, I want you guys to ask. Reach out, ask, your veterinarian, ask your friends, ask your family. But if you can visibly tell that your dog is not your dog anymore, then it's probably time to really start considering that. And like Cheryl said, don't give up so much CBD that they bounce back and you're like, oh, they're fine, because that's a temporary cure. That's not a fix. Then like you said, you were saying goodbye for 3 years because you knew, but you didn't know. When it got to that point, midnight emergency vets, well, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, unfortunately. You can't know for yourself. You can't know for your dog. Things happen in life the way they're supposed to happen, and feeling guilty about that is just part of how life works, but it's also something that we don't want people to feel because it's part of the natural order. You shouldn't feel guilty because you had to make a choice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, what you're doing now is just so fantastic. And I love that it came for reasons of, improving yourself and improving your dog's health. So you said that you kind of were testing things with your dogs. They were senior dogs. They had all kinds of health problems at that point. What year did you start with the CBD in the dogs?
2018. I started my business in 2017. And then in 2018, that winter, I started to play around with the infusing and mastering a recipe that we use today. Took about 3 or 4 months to get it all down pat and get the batches out.
And you said that you bake in a commercial kitchen.
Yes.
How many times a week do you do that?
We're there on Wednesday nights. Yeah. Once a week, sometimes every other week. It just depends. But I rent space in a commercial kitchen in Geneva, which is one town over, another river town. And it is a working commercial kitchen. And technically, I don't have to bake them in a commercial kitchen. And someday I may bring that baking into my shop. But I really like it. I like being in a commercial kitchen. I have lots of space. Everything is stainless and clean, and I can start it, stop it, clean it up Because left to my own devices, I'll just leave messes everywhere. But there you can't, So I like that. Plus, I work with a professional baker, and she owns a business called the Party Kitchen, which is cooking classes, local here. And she's a teacher. And she is as professional as they come. And her name is Lori. And she's one of my oldest staff members, too. Not by age, we're the same age, but longevity. So she's been with me like 5 years, 6 years, going on 6 years, I guess. So she perfected my recipe, helped me get it bigger batches and figure out all of that. Going in the commercial kitchen is just so was foreign. It was cool because it was like, oh, what is this big thing? Like this super gigantic mixer or whatever. So she showed me everything, and she still keeps me on my toes. We have rules in the kitchen. And there's, you have to wash your hands a lot, and you can never lick your fingers. That is really bad. So we bake together in there, and I love it. It's wonderful. She's a really good person, and it's almost like a check-in with your friend once a week.
That we share what we do on Thursday. Yeah. Thursday night. So we have a little check-in here too. So you have the treats. Do you offer anything besides the treats as products?
Yes. I started out with just oil drops for pets, dosed by the pet's weight as a starting point. So everything we do for pets is by weight as a starting point. Small, medium, large, extra large size dogs. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's more of a rule of thumb. And so we do oil drops, dog treats in single dozen, 3 dozen, 12 dozen, and up. And then I just started this past year infusing peanut butter, fresh ground peanuts and CBD oil. And it's pretty nice. It's just one dosing, and the person can dispense it so easily. So let's say they have a big dog that's 100 pounds or over. They could do a tablespoon, have it lick it off the spoon. And then their little dog, could have like a teaspoon, or a half a teaspoon. So that makes it pretty easy. Some dogs are picky, though. So we guide people on, to use the oil, put it on a treat they like.
Or that's my biggest problem. I have a picky eater, and I've tried so many different brands of CBD oils, and I've tried putting it on things that they like, or just sprinkling it in their water, or putting it on the floor and trying to get them to lick it up. And both of them, like, once they realize what it is, like, that whole bottle of CBD is now wasted because they just look at me like I'm crazy. So I love the peanut butter idea, because knowing that I can just go and lick it off, I know they're going to eat the peanut butter.
So easy. Then you toss the spoon in the sink and you're done. The other thing the peanut butter is good for is using with activity mats or licking mats. So you slap a licking mat on the tub, right, when you're bathing them. That's not the time you'd give them CBD, though. So let's say your dog is, I'm kind of jumping 2 topics here. I apologize. But let's say your dog gets anxious when you give it a bath. You could give them the CBD about an hour before the bath, and then they should be a little bit less nervous about the bath. You could then use a licking mat just to keep them busy. Not necessarily give it with CBD, but just regular peanut butter or whatever you use on them. I've seen like cheese sprays and stuff like that. But if you want to give them CBD, we see this with separation problems with dogs, is smearing the peanut butter on an activity mat, and then they're so busy consuming it and getting it all out of the crevices. By the time it takes for the CBD to kick in, the owner is already gone, and maybe they're not going to get so anxious this time, is the thinking.
Well, and there's that whole, we've talked about this on several episodes at this point now, enrichment, 15 minutes of licking and or sniffing equals an hour of physical exertion. It's also mental stimulation. Well, so you incorporate all those things together into an activity that they're less sure about, and now you've made that activity fun, as well as giving them the edge of calmness prior to. So I think that's a really good combination of things for listeners who are having issues giving their dogs bath. Give the CBD before, give them a lick mat with enrichment during, and now you have completely successfully set yourself up for a good routine with baths. And now next time, they're going to be looking for that CBD treat. They're going to be looking for that lick mat, and they're going to jump right in the tub, and you're going to have less issues. Now, should you practice your dog jumping in and out of the tub prior to all of this? Yes, you absolutely should, because you want your dog to be comfortable in the situation without the water running, without the, extra encouragement. But I really do think that could definitely be something that people could learn to work into their routines, and everyone could benefit from that. So that's an excellent point right there.
Thank you. I wanted to touch on the dogs that are picky eaters or sensitive to the taste. So you could mix the CBD in with their food, and maybe they'll probably know, right? Your dogs know. The dogs know. They're like, no. So you could, if you can mask it, that's one way you could mask it, is just put it in the food. But if they figure you out, you could switch to like a flavorless, odorless CBD, which is called the CBD isolate. And it's about half as effective as full spectrum. And we do sell it on the human side. You wouldn't have to necessarily get it from me, but wherever you get it, it's cheaper and it's less effective, but it gets the job done. For me, it might be a next choice because they won't be able to taste it. It's just like a flavorless, odorless, clear liquid.
Well, I think that's a great option to have, like you said, as a second option. But I think with all the things that you're doing here, the peanut butter, the treats, you're definitely masking that. I'm pretty sure our CBD treats out there, I have one brand that I use that I have been successful with. And it is just little chews, and they do fine with those. But if it's an oil, I think I just never thought, oh, let's put it in peanut butter, because peanut butter works every time.
Peanut butter solves all the problems. Peanut butter, bacon, and cheese. Bam.
So how does CBD react to freezing? Because my dog, with the licky mat that she uses, I freeze Greek yogurt and peanut butter on opposite sides, and she loves that. She won't really engage with the licky mat if it's warm, but she loves it.
I think it would be fine. The cannabinoids burn off with heat after like 350. I don't bake anything higher than 300 when I'm working with hemp, but as far as freezing, it's fine. I recommend people with their treats to store them in the freezer if they're not going to use them up right away. Or some dogs that prefer them frozen. So definitely you can freeze it. You can, also one thing I wanted to mention is I'm working on a soft chew, because my treats are baked fresh and then dehydrated. So they're hard, not good for senior dogs with maybe mouth issues or teeth that are, delicate. So the soft chew should be coming out next month, I hope.
That's what I need.
Samples. Yeah.
We need to get together on that, because I need to talk to you in regards to that. I would really like to get some, and I'm sure Josh would like to try some for Artie as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'll send you some samples.
That'd be great.
Her current hemp chews are softer.
Yeah.
We call them calm teas in the house because you can't see the word treat. She knows that word.
She'll go nuts.
Yeah. And that's the opposite of what we're trying. One of the last things that I wanted to make sure to get in, because, of course, towards the end of the episode, we're going to level set, is you were talking about people's misunderstanding of CBD or the stigma with it. And kudos to people that have stayed this long if they don't have this understanding. CBD is not THC. They are very different chemicals. And so the stigma that people have with CBD tends to be linked to THC. I personally don't have any stigma with THC. I love it. Thanks, Farm Bill, for Delta 8 and Delta 9. But I just want to make sure that is clarified in this episode.
Yeah.
They are different, and by all means, do your own research on it.
And everything in moderation.
Yes.
But there's also medical reasons why people use THC. And,
absolutely. I use it for my anxiety.
Yes. I don't, and this is how everybody's different. And likewise with dogs, every dog's going to react to this a little different. That's why we start with one dose and then go from there. But it makes me more anxious.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that's that way too. I find that
Sometimes.
I find that Delta 8 calms me and allows me to sleep. Delta 9 is I'm going out and I would really like to be the extrovert that I was before anxiety kicked in. Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're plant friendly, and I will just flat out make that statement now because we're plant friendly. We don't judge people. It's your choice. You do what you do or you don't. I mean, there are everything, like I said, everything in moderation. Different things work for different people. Different things work for every dog. And while we're on this topic, I am going to say CBD is not going to fix your dog's behavior. It is not a cure-all. It is an additive that has multiple benefits for your dog's health, well-being, and anxiety, but you should not be using it to control their behavior.
Mm.
Right. I think that's the most important. Can it help them wind down? Can it help them not be afraid of the fireworks? Can it help them have less inflammation from their old muscles and bone aches and all that arthritis and stuff? Yes, it absolutely can. But you should not give your dog CBD just to make them be quiet and behave. You should not give your dog CBD because you think that it will correct their behavior. This is an additive. It's like taking your vitamins, guys. It's not something that you use 24/7 to control how your dog is acting. So I think that's really important to mention here, but it is a very, very beneficial product. One last thing that I want to talk about is you guys donate back to shelters, which is a huge thing for us. We love that on this show. So can you tell us a little bit about how you give back?
Sure. We oftentimes, whenever asked, we donate raffle prizes to help raise funds for dogs and cats in need for various shelters. We do promotions where part of the proceeds of our sales go to various nonprofit pet shelters in the area. I've probably worked with every pet outreach in this area to help. If any, some of them still do, they reach out, say they have a particular dog that is very sick. One that comes to mind is a small dog that had rectal tumors, and clearly the dog was in hospice, but in a foster, in a temporary. And so we donate to them to help the dog. And what it did there is it helped shrink the tumors just enough for the dog to have a bowel movement, because the tumors were growing, getting big, and having, obstructing the bowel. So we see that. We see dogs in transition, a lot of pit bulls, maybe in transition. They're just so emotional, aren't they? Pit bulls, they know.
They're big babies.
They're big babies. And so we see that a lot of times too. The pit bulls, especially shelter into a foster home or foster home into their final home. We may send a little, care package along with them, or, the shelters I work with, they'll call or send a message and then give us an address, and we send it. And that's one off, but mostly we're part of their fundraising efforts wherever we can. One in particular called It's All About the Paws. They do a lot. They just had a hoarding situation of bunnies, and it caused a big problem, a very expensive problem. And they had to get them out of the situation they're in. So then what do you do now? You have all these bunnies now. So they've been working very hard to find homes and get them all adopted out and vet everybody. And they work with a lot of cat and dog shelters in the area as well.
So. Wow, that's a new one even for me. A bunny hoarding situation.
Bunny hoarding. Yeah, they have their whole story documented on It's All About the Paws. And I'll forward you their contact info too.
Please, because I would like to put that in the episode notes just so that everyone can take a look at that. We've talked about hoarding situations on the show before, and I know it's not dog related, but it still gives you an insight into that awful thing. So
Yeah. So I try to do that. I'm not in this business for the money. I made great money in my corporate job, but it really didn't fill my cup at all. I was making other people money and, not really, it was interesting work and great work. And, I went to college and all that, but it's really, this is really where my heart is helping other people navigate this, wellness for themselves and their pets. I'm definitely not a dog expert by any means, and I'm still learning a lot of things, but I do know how the plant works with the endocannabinoid system in humans and animals. And back in 2019, I was asked to contribute to a book with a pretty big publishing house called Llewellyn Worldwide. And my friend is a writer, and she writes a lot about cannabis and metaphysics. So she's one of their big main writers on those topics. And she's written, 14 books on those topics. So they asked her to write a book about CBD. And so she asked me, where would you point me, in researching and figuring it out? Because the THC life is different than the CBD life. So I mapped it all out. I showed her all the research from University of Israel and shared with her my presentations that I've given in training people and helping people. Anyway, so the publisher kept coming back and asking for more information from me. And the next thing I know, they put my name on the cover. So that was really fun. And it was several years in the making. And then COVID kind of set it back a little bit. But that came out April 8th of 2022. And it's called CBD for Your Health, Mind, and Spirit. It is not a dog-specific book, but there are recipes in there. And I also have a dog treat recipe. If anybody would like it, it's on a little postcard, and I'd be happy to share that with anybody who would like it, where they could buy bulk CBD or buy CBD from me or anybody else, and they can make their own dog treats at home. And I show them how the dosing works and everything. So that's kind of fun.
That's incredible. Can you also send me the link to your book so that we can put that up in the episode notes as well?
Yeah.
Well, Cheryl, it was fantastic having you here tonight. And I'm sure that we will have you back for another episode, and we will absolutely be in touch. Thank you for listening to this episode of Straight Up Dog Talk, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by our good friends from Fat Sam's for Pets. Help your pets live their best lives, happy and calm and pain-free with help from fatsamsforpets.com. Need an easy way to dose by weight for a starting point? Try their infused peanut butter, pumpkin peanut butter dog treats, or their super clean full-spectrum oil for pets. Use code SUDT at fatsamsforpets.com to save 10% on your purchase today.
Straight Up Dog Talk was created by Emily Breslin. It is edited, produced, and co-hosted by Josh Wasta under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk, LLC, and Emily Breslin. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow or subscribe to be sure you don't miss an episode, and leave us a review on your favorite platform. Looking for more honest and relatable dog content? Check out our sister show, Unpacked, with Jerry Sheriff and Madison Simpson. Thanks for listening to Straight Up Dog Talk. See you next week.